everybody, what's happening? I am Tommy and you are on the lifeboat. Hope everybody's doing all right. Let's say hello to some people. What do you think? You know something? This is killer. This is killer. So you've probably heard me complain about the training wheels coming off, right? I used to have touchscreen everything. That's terrible quality. You got to get better equipment, right? But the better equipment's a lot harder to use. So now I've got the training wheels over here so I can do things with my fingers and touch stuff and not have to work silly controls, which is really nice. And I can also blow it up about this big. Cindy Plumley, good to see you. Charlie Mullins, what's happening? This is just a much easier way to do this. I promise you. Vixen, good to see you. Jen Gary, what's happening, baby? See you. RSM, Samantha Askey, DS Kitty Diane, Tractor. Good to see you. Jane Aldrich, what's happening? Lisa Trimble, thoughts and prayers. No, you had a tough morning, Lisa. Thoughts and prayers to you. Bayou Babe, DS Kitty Diane, Jane Aldrich, good to see you. Jennifer Minton, hello to you too. Kelly Gerling, what's happening? Bill Herrera, hey, I'm having a decent day. How are you, my friend? Maria, good to see you. Helsinki, the Arabian Bard, there you are. Michelle, good to see you. Michelle, Tommy Bird, what's up, my brother? Paula Penley, good to see you. Tommy Bird, good to see you, Paula. Daniel McCoy, Lumen, what's happening, Lumen? Janine, good to see you. Jane Aldrich. The VT Wilt. I can never get that out. The coroner. The coroner's here. The coroner's here. Good morning to you. Freddie, what's happening? Good evening, huh? All right, all right. Charlotte Everett, what's happening? Donna Kebab. Kristen Melinda. Katrina. Nicola, sorry. James, what's happening? Sharon. Cinderella's Glass Slipper. Mother Bird. Joyce Kirby. Oh, we're killing it. We're killing it. I'm a couple of minutes in. I'm already on top of this stuff, man. See, all I need is to take the thinking out of stuff, people. If we can take the thinking out of things, I'm going to do a hell of a lot better. I promise you, it's just going to make a lot more sense. Kimberly White, Joseph, how are you? Lilith, good to see you. Gen X to the power of 7. Mischief Manager, I'm glad you're in the house. K-Fix here. Good to see you, K-Fix. I'm glad you're here. Joseph Compton, good to see you. Kimberly White, I'm loving this. Ava plays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sandy Bowers, you realize that if your number went up any higher than that, I couldn't have continued counting. Math has never really been my strong suit. Tracy Range, Riley's Human. Good to see you, Riley's Human. Glad you're here. I was told there would be no math. One of the reasons I'm on YouTube is because if I had to do anything that was even remotely math related, I wouldn't be able to do it. Like that section of my brain just never worked, even from Jump Street. Ladybug Melissa, good to see you. Deborah Cook, how are you? Hello, Diane. Truthfully, I don't think that part of my brain ever developed right. However, I probably did enough damage at a couple of Grateful Dead concerts where if it did work right, and it probably wasn't firing too well after that. It's your first live? It's your first live. Welcome. I love that. I really do. Welcome to the boat. Kiki, good to see you. I really love it when people get to catch us live. I really do. We're way more fun live. I mean, I love the replay crew. I really do. Hey, Lilith. Tribe Called Duff. I dig the replay crew. I really do. And, it's the largest section of the audience always, right? I mean, always. The biggest section of the audience is going to be the people that catch it on the replay. However, it is a hell of a lot of fun to have an opportunity to do it here. What's happening, Dale Cox? Benita, good to see you. Charlotte Evans, I'm not going to try to spend too much time over here because I know it's probably frustrating to watch the side of my head. Nesquik Milk, good to see you. Chrissy from Maui, especially with the size of my beak. I'm a guy that probably looks a lot better if I'm facing you. You know what I mean? I start getting sideways, and it's just I'm probably better face on. Chrissy from Maui, good to see you. Cortina. DJ Daddy-O, what's up, Mr. T? Mr. T, I love that you can catch me more often. This daytime slot, I think, is good. I really do. Mr. T's been with me a really long time. We are friends above and beyond, the YouTube thing. He's a really, really good man and a really good friend. And I know we're just a good dude, really good dude. Kevin Hawthorne, Lakeland, Florida. Good to see you, Kevin. Always an honor. Brent Taylor, how are you? Gordon Jackson. We will be getting underway shortly, people. I promise we're going to fire this boat up, and boy, have we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We really do. Sassy Savage, what's up? We have a lot of stuff to talk about because yesterday, so much news came down and a couple of really big explosions, right, in this whole deal. If you've been following this and you're listening to the sound of my voice, so there's a pretty good chance you're following it. Lisa, good to see you. Kiki, Jen, good to see you. So what happens is, if you've been following this, and I have a feeling you have been, there's arguing among the more well-known people in the Diddyverse. What do you think? Did I do a decent job of explaining that? Kelly Marie, good to see you. I did get rest, man. I did get rest. Today's a huge day. Yeah, Jag, and that's probably the easiest way to say it right there. How's that? Yeah, there you go. That's it in a nutshell. Jaguar Wright and Courtney Burgess went to the mat. Their fur was flying. Gaslit, good to see you. Fur was flying. And I'm going to want to talk to you people about that. I really am, because I want to hear your opinions. Because I'll tell you something. I don't want to be a dude that makes waves either, right? But there are some things that make you go, huh, right? There are some things that I think are a bit red flaggish, and I think we'll touch on that. You know, and by the way, I'm not flinging shade, but I promise you, I'm not that dude. I don't talk about other content creators. However, sometimes there are things that I think we need to discuss. So yesterday, people, I was a bit remiss in not busting out the official birthday cake of the Lifeboat, right? Mary sent this to me, but this is the official birthday cake of the Lifeboat. Yesterday was Sean Combs' birthday. I do feel a little bad that we didn't at least make a couple of jokes or something. Joyce Kirby, good to see you. Angela, what's happening? Hey, feisty Irish. I feel like we could have made some jokes, right? We could have talked about the fact that he probably wasn't getting decent meals, that kind of thing, you know. But I will tell you for real, right? Because I think this is kind of relevant. There's not much worse than birthdays in prison. Maybe the only thing worse would be Christmas. Birthdays are really tough. They mark the fact that you're not in the world. There's something very different. It's every other day, right? You did 364 before that. Who gives a, no, you do. You do. There's something absolutely painful about knowing that you're inside for your 45th birthday, right? Or your 50th birthday or your 30th birthday. There are a lot of guys inside the system that will tattoo on their backs either, what do you call it? Calendars. They'll put a calendar on their back and they have the different years. You'll see the 1996 and the 97. It's like they're flying off a calendar. Some people do graveyards and every single stone's got a year on it. But the symbolism is always the same. These are years where we just give this stuff up, right? You're not part of the real world anymore. Got to be a whole lot harder for a guy that really believed that he owned this world. Keep it real. This guy was very, very, he was living a kind of life that I don't think most of us can wrap our brain around, right? Nor would we probably want to. Feisty Irish, you had a good time over on Chase the Heat. I want to tell you something, man. I can't tell you the amount of fun that I've had over the years being beat up badly by Johnny Scoville, right? That is something that I have taken. I can't tell you the amount of time in my existence that Johnny Scoville had to work me over. People, I can't breathe. I'm having a struggle. Give me 1 second. So take me 1 second. Sorry about that. Been one of those kind of asthmatic mornings. Yeah, my brother's funny as hell, man. He's got a great channel, and he's been doing it for years. He's got that silver play button. It's actually over there on the wall. I was trying to figure out how we could get the Lifeboat, maybe put it over Chase the Heat. But it's coming, people. It's coming. Kristen Melinda's here. Good to see you. Humble and kind. What's happening? You're 99% on replay, crew. Texas shenanigans. Well, I am glad that you are here now, right? That's awesome. It really is. That's awesome. I love it when people can catch it. Chris Todd was too hard to watch. Yeah, you're not the first person to say that, right? Opinion on Jaguar. She knows the lifestyle and hear the rumors from those still in, but she probably has a good idea of what's the reality of present. I think that there's a lot of truth to that. Hey, Elaine, good to see you too. But I think that there's stuff that just makes people there's stuff that sounds so fantastical, and I'm not suggesting it's not true, because as I've said many times in the past, if we went back 5 years and said, what is she saying? And everything she said sound fantastical, right? Hello, and Pitt, good to see you. Yadira, how are you? Tampa B, there you are. Yeah, I don't have any idea how the election is going yet. I did get my my vote in, but I had done it a while ago. I was trying to keep that. I do have an inhaler. Yeah, and you know what's great? I can buy these puppies in Mexico. It's part of what happens with our country because of how our medical system is set up. Right, things are a lot more expensive. They really are. Now, the healthcare tends to be a lot better too, but. I can buy these puppies for like $3, I think, in pharmacies across the border. I feel Chris was in it for clout and money and nothing else. You know something? I'm not going to argue that point, right? I mean, I'm not going to argue against you. And the reason I'm not is because there are certain people, when you watch them talk or you see them interviewed, you know what? We'll use Jaguar again. Right? Whatever you think of Jaguar, no one's out there going, you know what? Jaguar has absolutely no passion for what she's talking about. This isn't something that she feels strongly about, right? There's nobody on planet Earth that's saying, yeah, yeah, that's exactly what happened. So Jag called out some things that really looked kind of suspicious, right? That's what's in question, right? Now, damn it all. I think I have my tablet. Hold on. Okay, because I've been doing a little, so let me see if I can find this still. Well, let me see if I still have this. Because I've been doing a little research, my damn self. And there are, it might be on my other computer. Let's see here. In one of the interviews that Courtney has done, and I don't know whether it was over on Sean Atwood's program or I don't know if it was on somebody else's program, but he made mention to where he got the transcript, right? And he said it was given to him by a friend of his. That friend was a man, and he gave the guy's name, and it was, I believe the first name was it sounds like Shakir or Shaquille, something like that. I can't, and maybe Shepherd, something like. I'm not. You know what? Look, I'm not going to screw this guy's name up. I'm not. However, he spits out the guy's name, so I pull that name, and then I go and I Google him, and he died in 2008. So I need to go back and make sure that I got that name right, right? Because if he was sitting on that since 2008, that's terrifying. Because the amount of stuff that could have happened, right, since 2008, that's really disturbing stuff to think that somebody could have been putting this on, right, for all of that time when the opportunity was there to stop it. If you looked at the thumbnail today, there's a picture of Cassie Ventura. And I said, this is what a hero looks like, right? This is a rescue inhaler. This is one of those situations where this is now a business, right? Hell or high water, this is now a business. And this is now a business that is cranking out a ton of money. I don't think you can imagine, right? Honestly, I can go and take a look at certain, I can take a look at a certain channel that does, they put something up and they do X amount of views, and you start to extrapolate based on, audience and how much you make per thousand or whatever. And you start doing math. And what you realize is that there's a vested interest to keep all of us sitting on the edge of our seat, right? And there's a vested interest in kind of making it difficult to separate fact from fiction, right? Mel says, Jag called out his lies, his direct disinformation, wrong association. He is a disgrace. My BS radar went off based on how he conducted himself in the interview. All right, here's my question, right? Here's my question. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know the answer to that question. How about this, the answer to this question? There were 8 people on the videos, yeah? Isn't that where we were at? There were 8 people on the videos, allegedly. Allegedly. 6 of those 8 people were men. 2 of those 8 people were women, right? 2 of them were underage. Do you know what it's called when you have someone that is underage doing those kind of things on any form of recorded media? Do you know what that stuff's called? Do you know what happens if you're in possession of it? Right? What happens if you're in possession of it? If you're in possession of that, you probably need to turn that over to the authorities like 3 or 4 seconds after you find out you got it. You know, there's a lot of reasons to question a lot of what is being said. It's frightening to think that the dude walked into a grand jury. It's, you know, I don't know that. Holy hell! And are the people that are popping up? Are they agent provocateurs? Are these people that are supposed to be keeping this stuff? What's going on, right? Because now I'm sitting seriously and finding myself, here's the one thing that I feel like I can take away, because there's a cast of characters involved in this that are really, really hard to wrap your brain around. Because some of the stuff that's being said, my God. And my default setting is I'm going to believe you. I'm going to believe you until there's a lot of reason not to, right? I'm going to defer. And the reason for that is because a lot of what's being alleged is not the kind of stuff I ever want to look at a man or a woman who had this happen to them and go, not sure I believe you. That's just something that maybe that job can belong to somebody else, right? I got no desire whatsoever for that gig. I have no desire whatsoever for that gig. Jen Gary says, what do you think about the hand gestures he was making? I think that perhaps they were accidental. Perhaps they were accidental. They are absolutely, some of the stuff that the cat does with his hands are in a lot of places documented to be hand signals that signify different levels within certain secret societies, right? And there's truth to that, right? There is absolute truth to that. Now, was it an accident? If it was an accident, if you were just doing it, I don't know, it looked a little over the top to me. Looked a little over the top to me. That's my humble opinion. Boone trial had you on lockdown? Yeah, you did. That trial was disturbing, wasn't it? So Christy says, I watch a combination of sources plus my own memory, and lots do line up. You're right. You see, the increase of podcasts on Diddy is crazy. I don't blame anybody. I don't blame anybody ever for trying to put up content that people want to see, right? This is a supply and a demand industry. Now, I think the people that end up really doing well through these kind of things are people who started to try to get a look at it earlier on. You follow me? I mean, like Jaguar, right? I think the reason that I'm going to defer to Jaguar in cases of dispute between her and someone else is she's been saying the same thing for 5 years, man. She was around way before this thing became cool. She was around way before anybody was talking about arresting this cat. And do you know why Cassie's picture is on the thumbnail? Do you know why I said this woman is a hero? This is what a hero looks like. Well, Chickacherry Cola asks, what is the main catalyst that brought the authorities to arrest Diddy? And the answer to that question is the lovely woman you saw in the thumbnail, Cassie Ventura. This is hands down because she's a hero and was willing to take a lot of BS because there's going to be bucket loads of it. It's going to be very, very difficult because the society that we're in, I think we're way more evolved than we were in the 80s, right? We're way more evolved than we were in the 90s. But I get emails all the time from people that convince me that we're not as far along as we need to be, right? Now, here's the thing. I can't say that name, right? For it's kind of how they like it on here. That's not a word you can throw out. But that's what I was talking about. If you're in possession of that stuff, God forbid, right? God forbid, something were to come into your hands, you got to go, huh? And then you got to call 911, right? I'm serious, right? There are crimes you don't call the cops over. And there are crimes you call the cops over, right? There are crimes that you instantly call the cops over. There are crimes that you hand what you got over to the FBI, right? As soon as you get it. The idea... Corey Feldman has been speaking out for a long time, Sassy Savage. I was probably highlighting Jag just because it's specific to the Diddy thing, but you're right. In fact, the Feld dog has been doing it longer than anybody. I mean, that I can remember. He's honestly been talking about it now for a really, really long time. If you're in possession of that. So that makes me nervous. It also makes me nervous if instead of turning it over to the authorities, you made a crap load of copies of it, right? That's really tough, man. That's really tough. So Cassie's lawsuit, here's something that we've talked about before on here, but she went to him before last November, right? However, in paperwork that is just getting coming out because the attorneys are talking about this in court when the investigation into Mr. Combs began. And it began as far as the government of the United States, the Southern District of New York, and the Department of Homeland Security getting together to talk about the specific charges and going after Mr. Combs. It started in November of last year. Coincidentally, November of last year is when Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit against Mr. Combs. It was not, however, the first time Mr. Combs had a chance to make that go away. The first time she went to him, she didn't do it in the form of a lawsuit. But she went there and she asked for $30 million and said, you know, what you put me through. So I'm gonna write a book. Now you can own the book, or I'm gonna make a movie, or she was going to release all of this. He could buy the rights to it, right? And make sure that settlement, there it is, it goes away, it's done. Now, if you believe the hype, right? This dude's worth $1 billion, right? Quarter three, if $1 billion, right? $1 million bill, you got 1,000 of them, but you don't want to give 30 to a woman you've been in love with for years, right? Who you know you did dirty. You know what he said? How about 10? How about 10 for the years that I punched you and kicked you and forced you to have intercourse with multiple people, right? For days on end while I direct and film? Good God. Give the woman 30, but he didn't, right? So she comes back. And when she comes back the second time, it's in the form of a lawsuit, right? Now it's a little bit more, no, he did not love her, Maggie. I'm just saying these are his words, right? He came on and talked about how much he loved the woman. I don't believe he's capable of loving a woman. I don't. Love does not come with, it's just not one of those things. I remember the 90s parties. I could have so easily been in one of those situations, thanking my angels. You know something? I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. If I had happened to be in the wrong town, right? I was the kind of idiot that went to these kind of things, right? These are the kind of things, these are the kind of places I absolutely would have ended up at, right? I was stupid. I was absolutely stupid. And I wouldn't have been in there I would have been in there trying to get drugs. Anyway, was watching Sidebar. Jesse, I thought 13 years old was illegal and the feds would take it up criminally. Any reason why 13-year-old could settle civil? Feds couldn't touch it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The feds can still take that thing and run with it. The feds will take a look at it. If they don't think that there's enough there to prosecute, I mean, that would probably be the only reason. But 13-year-old is absolutely illegal. Anything under 18 years old is illegal. But they're meeting right now, right? We're having the grand jury is convening right now concerning this deal, right? Concerning what's going on right now with the Sean Combs case. They're meeting as we speak, right? To try to come up with new indictments. So I think we're going to see an underage thing. I think that the superseding indictment is going to have somebody underage on it. I don't know whether it will be the 13-year-old. I don't know whether it will be, there's a lot of people underage. It could be any one of them. But one of them is going to be there because it's going to absolutely devastate Sean Combs' ability to defend himself. Done. He cannot defend himself in any way. But you know something? It's an interesting take, Tom. Recycle the plastic. Use the money for, get the boxes out. First pizza man paid for to get the boxes out. Courtney, question mark? More boxes to follow. Paid to be paid by recycled plastic. You know something? It's a thought, isn't it? I mean, if you're sitting on all these things, you could be getting them out to the street in a lot of different ways, right? There's a lot that you could do. And I'll tell you something else, right? And I know that everybody's talking about this, but it's worth freaking talking about. People coming forward with allegations, and if they turn out to be ridiculous, and if the pictures turned out to be photoshopped and all of that stuff, that weakens what they're trying to do, right? This is the kind of crap that doesn't need to happen. This is the kind of crap that really needs to get. I did a video, I don't remember how long ago, right? But I wrote something along the lines of, this Diddy shit's getting out of control, right? This circus is getting out of control. And it's one of those deals where the fuss around the story is becoming larger than the story itself, right? You remember the O.J. Simpson trial? Like, there were people that came out of the O.J. Simpson trial, famous, right, that weren't really a part of the trial, but they were close enough, right? They were a witness about this, or Kato Kalin, right? Dude ended up with his own radio show and was, for a period of time, was wildly famous because he took the stand in that case, right? Well, this Diddy thing there's a cast of characters that are becoming very, very popular and kind of making the rounds, so to speak. And I'll kind of go on the record. I'm not trying to bum anybody out, but if I had to put my money on one of them, I'd put my money on Gene Deal. For all of the things that people are saying, Diddy is most assuredly a narcissist. I believe that. With the things that everybody says, I am of the firm belief that his former bodyguard, Gene Deal, for me, sounds the most credible. It's just a personal thing, right? I'm not slamming anybody else, and I'm not saying anybody else's. I'm just saying, if they said, here it is, Tommy, right? 3 people, 3 stories. You're going to grab what one of these people say. You got to put your name to it. I pick Gene Deal. That's my opinion. And the reason is the guy just gives me that stand-up cat vibe. You know what I mean? The first time that somebody brought up the fact that allegedly Usher ended up in an emergency room for the kind of injury that you only get messing around in a bedroom and not wrestling for cornflakes in the morning. You know what I'm saying? And Gene Deal's response to that, I thought, was just to really stand up. He said, you know what? That's not my story to tell. You know, he's like, Usher can tell that story. And the way he said it was, yeah, you bet there's a story there. No, there's no story. That's complete and utter BS. But classy enough to say, I'm not going to, you know, yeah, let him tell that story if he wants to. I think the guy's a class act. I really do. And Pitt says it's like a distraction to us. You know, there are a lot of people who think that this was a psych op to keep us from voting. But I don't know anybody that's sitting around watching this and not voting. right? I voted, right? And I'm deep into this, people, right? I'm doing this when you're not doing this. I made it down there. What is sad to me is everybody is coming out with the names of victims, but not the names of other perpetrators besides Diddy. I just know in my heart nobody else big is going down, and he didn't do it alone. I understand your fear on this. I really do. I understand your fear on this. Sadly, I'm going to disagree, but I don't think that's the sadly part. Sadly is why I'm disagreeing with you, right? This is a bummer to me. But the reason that I'm disagreeing with you, KP, is because I'm of the firm belief that right now, all the crap that's going on is being orchestrated. Now, I don't know who it's being orchestrated by, but I think decisions have been made, like this guy's getting burned, right? Diddy's going down. He's going to get a long sentence. I don't know whether there's too many people talking about what's going on in Hollywood or what's going on in the music industry. Something. There's a reason this popped when it did, because he got away with it for 3 decades. So they decided that this guy gets thrown under a bus. I don't believe they're dumb enough to say they'll be happy if we just put Diddy away. Everybody will believe. There's nobody that's going to believe that. There's nobody that's going to believe that. And you know what? If the people start to believe that a 13-year-old, right, a person can do that to a 13-year-old and not get prosecuted, people are going to lose their mother-loving mind with very good reason. Now, this is a really good point. This is a really good point. RICO is not a crime traditionally where one person gets charged. I mean, this is so that RICO is done so that you can hold an organization accountable, right? Think about it kind of like a felony murder, right? Which isn't RICO, but it's the same kind of a concept. If I'm sitting around my house and I got 5 dudes with me, and I go, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to rob a bank, right? Here's the bank we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. And I lay this whole plan out. And then I watch television. And these people get in the car to go do it. One of them is just a driver. He's not going anywhere near that bank. He's going to drop 2 guys off. He's going to park around the street. And while this is going down, right, in the process of this going down, the cops shoot at them as they're running away. And they hit somebody else. The cops hit them. Everybody is going to prison for felony murder. The guy sitting at his apartment that was nowhere near it is going to prison for felony murder. The getaway driver and anybody else that had squat to do with it. If there were guys out there that just handed you the piece, you can take and basically make sure that everybody's going down for the exact same thing. Well, with RICO, it's that times 50. Because it's that, and it's also, we'll go back as far as we want, because we're not going to charge you with it. Even though the statute of limitations is already up on all these things, it's all going to come in, because we're going to call it prior bad acts. And that kind of crap is really hard to get into a normal trial. But because you're trying to prove that everything that was done by this cat and all of the businesses under him and all of the BS was there designed to throw freak-offs so that he could record people and then use that stuff to make cash, right? Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. You know something? I've been getting a lot of this, folks. I've been getting a lot of this, and I'm not mad at anyone. I get it. I really do. She says, love Snoop, but he is so mixed up in this. I feel like he was me back in the day. See it, but not in it. And keep your mouth shut. Not a great place to be. Yeah, this is a difficult thing. Because I think that we need to, hey, hello, Cat, London Town. I think we need to keep in mind that the guy that smutted him up the worst so far, we're starting to question maybe a little bit, huh? Right? However, I honestly, whether you believe it or not, I'm not fired up at the concept of coming here and doing a video if one person is trashing him. I didn't come on because one person was trashing Snoop. I came on here because a lot of people are talking trash about Snoop in a lot of different ways, right? Someone left a comment after that video that said, oh, man, so-and-so's always hated him. Think about, man, there's like 9 people, right, that don't like this dude. There's a lot of people that are putting him very close to, and Gene Deal does, right? Gene Deal says that they were a lot closer than people would have thought, especially with that whole West Coast, East Coast thing that I know nothing about. I really don't. I mean, I'm reading about it. BMJ Media says house dog. That was the term I believe that was used. It's impossible to know. Everyone being silent on this. And there's a lot of truth to that, right? No, Johnny says nobody's talking. This is one of those things that we've never seen this. I promise you, we've never seen this. Every time there's anything that comes out, right? So there's people that are always going to go, this is it. Nancy Grace, right? Found a career by finding the people who are ready to talk about whatever case was happening. All of the people around it close enough to go, yeah, I can tell you exactly what happened. I was at a bunch of those parties. Let me tell you what's going on. Nobody, right? Nobody. Rochelle says, Dr. Dre, Jimmy Iovine need to be looked at like opening a can of worms. I agree with you. I agree with you. And you know what? There's more than just Jimmy, right? There's a whole lot of people in this. You know who needs to get looked at? L.A. Reid, right? L.A. Reid. You hear his name come up again and again, right? You hear it coming up that he sent Usher to Diddy flavor camp. Does that make you throw up in the back of your neck, in the back of your throat a little bit now? Huh? Honestly, it's disgusting. But that's what happened, right? He sent him there to hang out with Diddy, live with him, right? Live with a grown man. You're what, 13, 14? Go live with a grown man. You're going to flavor camp. Holy hell, right? How good a concept is that? It's terrifying. You are the first person I heard to really break down what a RICO is and how it applies to Diddler. Thanks. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, the idea is this. The government is alleging that everything this guy did in business, including Sean John, including the Bad Boy record label, including what he was doing with Ciroc, right? Vodka and, Diageo Spirits. He had two different brands he was pushing. De Leon Tequila and Ciroc. And Ciroc, under that umbrella, had a bunch of different flavored stuff. Not when it first came out, but then they started doing different flavors. Crazy. And a certain reality show family. Allegedly. Yeah. The Kardashians are they're a nice family. I like to have them over for a Sunday brunch. If I was doing burgers or something in the backyard, tell them to bring some swimsuits, take the kids, you know what I mean? Hang out. I would rather jump in front of a moving bus than spend time with that family. Honest to God, they're the most frightening group of people. I'm not being mean. I'm being straight. I look at those people and I go, something just ain't right. And that was from Jump Street. I swear to God, from Jump Street. And I'm not busting anybody's chops for the reason everybody does. She got famous because of a sex tape. I don't care why you got famous. I really don't. Who cares? To me, honestly, that's irrelevant. But look who they are. Watch them. Watch that drivel that they put out. Right? Mom's talking about going to a Diddy party. You ever seen that clip of film? Mom's like, oh, I was at a Diddy party last night. And the daughters are talking to her, giving her crap. What are you doing? Your age, you're going to a Diddy party. Everyone ends up naked there. Like, giving her crap. Well, yeah. Because mom lives like she's 26. My God, I would be embarrassed. Avina, thank you so much, Flora. I really appreciate you. That is really, really funny. That is really, really funny. Avina Sativa says the Kardashians turn to lizards at night. And that is just plain awesome. Yeah, I think it's in all of the industry, says Sassy Savage. If they're not in it, they've seen it, and they're close to someone who are. You know, this is interesting. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and they said, do you believe that every single person that's successful in any of these industries, so every rock star had to bend over or get on his knees, right? Or every female entertainer had to lay on her back, like to get this is this something you believe? And I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I think that there are people out there whose talent was such, and their confidence in themselves was such that they were going to say no. But I don't think any of them didn't get pressed up on. Seriously. I think if you run into any female actor in Hollywood, they got a story of somebody at some point that said, you want this part, you can do this. And I think a lot of them, I don't think Meryl Streep would be really tripped out at, let's go for the next part, right? I think she probably had enough confidence in her craft. But again, this is why allegedly they try to find people for certain things that don't have talent, and then use stuff like auto tune and and having people write the lyrics for them and all of that crap. But they were handpicking dudes to make famous so they could all hang out and, well, people forget that times changed. I grew up watching in Australia our own version of the Attitudes, life, social norms, a lot of layers. It's weird. Same time, there was a lot of good things. Yeah, you know something? It's the good old days weren't always good, right? However, there were good times. There were. And I think it's sad when we look back, and because we weren't as I don't know the word you want, evolved. We weren't as evolved as people in the 80s. A lot of times we look back on it like that decade was just, that was the decade of savages. And it wasn't that way. I agree with you. As far as complicit goes, I think everybody to some level, the people that know that this goes on and don't talk about it, because there are people, right? Corey Feldman is a great example, right? There are people, there are actors and actresses that get out of Hollywood and go, you have no idea how jacked up that town is. I can't be in there. It's filthier than you think. There's a couple of really interesting interviews with Mel Gibson where he goes off about, and I'm not talking about recent Mel Gibson. I'm talking about very old Mel Gibson, where he talked about Hollywood and LA and how going to it was literally like entering a different world that felt satanic as hell. And I think that there's probably a lot of truth to that. I think that, and you don't have to believe in any of that stuff. It's a great word to let you know exactly what a person is thinking, right? There's a palpable evil around. There's something that you can feel. And allegedly, there's been some ceremonies and some stuff that these people do that isn't just making the beast with two backs, right? There's something very much symbolic or ritualistic about the things that they're doing. There's been talk of the masks being worn and all of that stuff, very eyes wide shut stuff. That's a great expression for evil to prosper. That's all it takes. And you know what? This is why I'm going to beat this. There are people who are going to say, I promise you, who cares, right? I do. I promise you I do. And we're going to keep talking about this, because when we stop looking and when we stop caring, right, this kind of crap goes on. Nickelodeon changed their symbol to a foot. Do you remember that? Okay. There are a lot of people who believe that symbol was changed to a foot because a pervert in there making kids television had a foot fetish. I'm not kink shaming. I have a foot fetish. I don't have a kid's foot fetish, right? But you talk about being out in the faces of the world. These people do this kind of crap because nobody cares. Nobody's watching, right? And I'm guilty as hell. I used to plot my kid down in front of Nickelodeon. I did. It was Nickelodeon, right? You feel like if your kid's not watching, Spanktravision, right, or Skinamax, right? God, you feel like he's on Nickelodeon. I mean, I did a show on this. You've heard me talk about this stuff, but you guys know what a money shot is, right? We're all adults here. You know how very often how a scene in an adult film ends. Well, they were simulating that on little prepubescent girls, right? Consistently. It happens so often that if I had sat down and watched 6 of those, I would have seen something that would have made me go, what the hell? But I wasn't looking at it. I felt safe plopping my kid down in front of him. And you know what? It didn't turn Spanx into a serial killer. But the people that were being abused, a girl comes out and writes a book called I'm Glad My Mother Died, right? One of the female actresses from one of the series. We're talking about sickness. And I do think that all of the industries, every one of them, to some level, yeah, they're all complicit. I don't think there were too many people that didn't know what was going on with Weinstein. Right? I don't. I think there's a lot of joking and crap that was made about that. And yeah, I think people knew and hung out with the guy. You know, like the Big O from yesterday. 800,000 a year in America of Avena sativa. I had not heard that statistic. It's terrifying if it was 80,000, right? If it was 80,000, it would be terrifying. 800,000 is, it's horrific. And I'll tell you what, there are things at play. I promise you. We did a show yesterday, right, about the Big O. I got dinged. That show got dinged, meaning the monetization got dropped on it. Doesn't mean they're not going to be running ads. It means I'm not going to be getting paid. It's really how that works. They can discourage you from doing certain kinds of content, right? Because if you get 15,000 views on something that you don't get paid on, you probably aren't going to talk about her again. I got news for you. I'll keep talking about it. I'll keep talking about it. Yeah. Mistress of Puns. Mistress of Puns. Here's the deal, right? It's interesting to talk to, you know, like my son and my son's generation. You want to hear something? Hold on really quick. Hello? This is. You know what? I'm out in my office. Can I give you a call back? Because I'm live. All right, thank you. Sorry, I wouldn't normally do that, but I thought I could try to sell him something. I thought it was a telemarketer. And we've done that a few times on the boat. You get a telemarketer and you instantly go into a sales pitch trying to sell him something. It's really funny, actually. But unfortunately, that one was legit. Christy says, that's what I liked about the big homie. Very vocal about treatment of ladies. Women came across as a real gentleman. Manners and kindness. I liked he remembered the lady he escorted. I think a lot of people like that. I think a lot of people, look at that and go, that is a beautiful thing. That is an absolutely beautiful thing. Yeah. The one thing that bummed me out, right, was I don't want anybody it's come out in a couple of different videos that he's done. Narcan will not help you if the substance that you've been given is Narcan. It's not a bad idea to give it to. If the substance you were given was GHB, it's not always give it to somebody. If they look like they're overdosing and you got Narcan, give it to them, because if it's not an opiate that they're overdosing on, the fact that you give them Narcan isn't going to hurt them. But if it is an opiate, you can knock that crap off the receptors and you can probably bring those people back to life. But I don't want anybody thinking, well, we're going to go out and party on a little G and we got some Narcan just in case anybody goes out, right? There's another thing. There's another thing that really got me, people, and it's not about him. When Courtney, the interview that I did with Courtney on the Sean Atwood program, you can watch a point at that interview where my face kind of goes like, when he started to talk about the bottles of baby oil, and he started to do a math equation for how many kilos, right, we're going into this. And I honestly have no idea. Like, that lost me to a degree you have no idea. That's not that kind of drug, right? It's just not that kind of drug. It's not the kind of drug that you buy in kilos, right? It just isn't. So it just seemed, I don't know. There's a lot about, when it's all said and done, there's a lot of things that made me scratch my head. Yeah, my BS meter went off, son said. And the other thing is the guy that he said gave him the book, right? I wish I had met it. Wait a second. Yeah, so there are a lot of things that kind of freaked me out. I guess that's probably the best way to put it, right? There's a lot of this stuff that just sort of freaked me out. And I'd like to be wrong, right? I really would. I'd like to be wrong, but I kind of have the feeling that I'm not. Yeah, absolutely a fact. Narcan is starting to not work on the street dope as well, because there's a lot of different shit in there now. Primarily Xylazine. And if it's not Xylazine, it's some other version of a bootleg benzodiazepine, a bootleg tranquilizer. The idea being, right, that there's a term among people that use opiates, right? About whether or not the substance has legs, how long the buzz is going to last. Because after you've been doing it a while, it's not a buzz. It's just how long you're not sick. So if it's got legs, you can go 8 to 10 hours before you got to do it again, right? And if it's 4 hours, that's a bummer because you got to do it all day long and it costs a crap load of money to do it, right? It's a frightening concept because both of these things are respiratory depressants, right? So when they add xylazine, the original opiate starts to crash, and you've got this xylazine that keeps the people in the state you've seen them in. When you look at videos of Kensington and you see people that have folded over at the waist, right? They literally look like they're trying to put their head on the ground, but they're conscious. They're just sort of sitting there like a zombie. Or people bend in the opposite direction where how are they standing up kind of thing. You've seen these pictures. They're terrifying. And they call it trank, right? Because technically xylazine is a horse tranquilizer. Yeesh. Well, horse or cow. If you want to chill out your horse or your cow, this is probably a great drug. If you want to inject it into a human being's arm or leg, not so good. And if you miss, right, which is the term that they talk about when the needle comes out of the vein and some of the substance that you're trying to put into the vein gets into the subcutaneous layer, the little tissue or that around, you're in deep trouble. The stuff is not meant to be in that part of the world, right? It's not supposed to be in that part in that part of your body. It's just not. It's supposed to be in that kind of tissue on a horse, right? Or a cow, completely different makeup. And what does it do to us? It rots your skin away, right? There are literally amputation centers that are being put up in cities because there are so many people that have stuff rotting off. Hey, Mary Gonzalez, good to see you. Large animal, some of them are human, no question. No question. And yeah, this is another thing. BMJ Media is correct. Nitazines, whatever you want to call them. That is the future. It's way stronger than Fent. Sad but true. Way stronger than Fent. And it's also the cheapest, right, stuff to make. Absolutely the cheapest stuff to make. Watch Ron's daily news today. We have been going into it frame by frame. The last one has opened his eyes. We give him a free pass for all the others, which we all know is not. Okay. I have no idea what you're talking about, Chris, but I am going to go and check that out. I promise. Tampa B says KP has a question. Well, let me go back and find KP's question. Thank you. You know what? Tampa B, you're fantastic. You really are. Let me see if I can find you. KP, back in my day, Go Fast would have had you up for days cleaning and starting a bunch of projects you don't complete. Nowadays, these people are like the Walking Dead. It's the substances have changed dramatically. They really have. Yeah, KP, put it up in a. I can't find your question. I'm sorry, but if you can put it back up, I promise you I'm going to find it. Hold on. You have here we go. Thank you, Tampa B man. You are an absolute, you are a friend. The question is, I have a friend trying to get off opiates and suggestions besides other medication. Well, I guess my first question would probably be, is there a reason that you're really, really sold on not other medications, right? Because I can just tell you from doing this all the time, depending on the opiates the person's trying to get off, the success rate is minuscule. Not being cold-hearted, just keeping it real, right? Whether you're doing NA, whether you're doing inpatient therapy, whether you're doing outpatient therapy, whether you're doing it on your own and going to supplemental meetings or not going to supplemental meetings, it ends up being somewhere between 15 and 20%, right? Get sober and the rest fail. And that's for all substances. For opiates, it gets considerably worse. You don't want to hear how bad. For instance, when it was when it was still the tar stuff, right? It ended up where it was 98 out of 100 people would stay addicted to it through their no longer breathing. That was for men. And it was 99 out of 100 for women. No joke, when it was just H. Now, we've come a long way. There's a lot of stuff out there. Avena Sativa says, I'm clean on Sublocade, and it's great. Mother Bird says, I'll never do another man-made drug again. I respect that. I do. However, if I break my thigh, right, and I'm a heroin addict. I'm a guy that can't take painkillers. But if I broke my thigh, I would need them. It's just not, you're not getting through that with Tylenol, right? There are certain times that I'm just going to have to go that route. Or I guess I could try to chase down, somebody that made smack and use that as a painkiller. But I mean, I do respect where you're coming from. I get it. Big Pharma did a number on me. Catalina, you look great in green. You really do. Welcome. Yeah, don't break your finger. It's probably not something that not a place you want to go. Catalina. Yay, I'm back after a fiasco. 6-month badge. Loving it. Loving it. We're glad you're back. Bruna Simone. It's all a synthetic part of the depopulation plan. There are a lot of people that agree. There's a lot of people that agree that this is a depopulation thing. Someone's trying to depopulate us, right? Someone is trying. Now, there are people who think it's our own government, and that could be the case. There are people that believe it is the beast from the east, the big red country, and it's coming from there. Most assuredly, it's coming from there. It's also coming from India now, because there is such a market for that kind of poison that everybody's starting to make it. What is codeine, and can you take Tylenol with codeine? More often than not, in this country, if you're doing codeine, it probably came in Tylenol, right? It's usually Tylenol 3 or Tylenol 4, which has codeine in it. Codeine is a painkiller. It is not one of the wildly strong painkillers, right? It's sort of at the bottom end of treating pain. And if the codeine you have is just regular codeine, you absolutely can take it with Tylenol, right? I'm not a doctor, but Tylenol is just acetaminophen. It's just a anti-inflammatory, right? Now, that said, Justine, I would talk to a doctor before I do anything, right? Depending too on, I don't know, codeine makes me nervous. It really does. It makes me nervous. Now, I worked in Canada for a while, and you could buy it at the time. You could go in and buy it over the shelf, and I did a bunch of it. But normally, the Tylenol in our country usually has acetaminophen in it, so I would check before I started taking more acetaminophen. But that's me. Kirsten, good to see you from Scotland. Speaking of Scotland, Bill Gates, you say? Well, we know that Bill Gates definitely thinks we'd be a better planet if we could. For a broken hip? No way in hell. No, codeine would not get it done for me if I broke. And especially for me personally, the problem becomes the amount of time that I spent doing opiates. I have a ridiculous opiate tolerance. Right, I do. Even not doing it for a long time. There's only a couple of things that they would give me. One would be Fent, and the other would probably be hydromorphone, dilaudid. That's because it's super strong, and it acts really quickly. And most people who are addicts, for whatever reason, absolutely love it. I'm not advocating drugs, I promise. Just answering the question. Yeah. What country are you in? I'm curious. Nicola, where are you buying that? Caitlin says codeine is now kept behind the counter in Canada in all forms. Does that mean you need a prescription for it? Or can you buy it over the counter, but they're not letting you near it? Because in our country, you can't even get Sudafed. Right? You can't walk into stores and grab Sudafed and go buy it because of some individuals who like to take it, mix it with other fine chemicals, and turn it into the crack for crackers, that methamphetamine stuff. If they were trying to depopulate, then why are men not given a contraceptive pill or jab? Only one woman got pregnant by God. Also, have children when you can afford healthy boundaries. Good life for all. Yeah, the problem is this, and I know that this is an unpopular opinion, but the problem is this, and I'm not a Gates fan. I'm not a fan of any of that crap, right? I think we have to go in the exact opposite direction, right? You know what's interesting to Google? If you gave every single person on planet Earth 6 feet, right, of their own, how large an area would it take up? If you Google that, I think you'll be shocked. And if you fly from California to the East Coast, you'd have a bitch of a time thinking that any place is overcrowded in this country, right? Because you're only going to fly over about 2 centers that seem to have populations in them. The rest of it is going to be spread out of nothingness with a little light here and a little light there. I used to fly that graveyard shift all the time after speaking on the East Coast. Get on there late at night and it would just be the boring, because there's nothing to look out the windows, right? There's not a lot of cities. In fact, there's another thing you could Google. If you were to just drop something out of an airplane, right? What are the odds that you'd hit somebody? Not very freaking good. Not very good. Because as overcrowded as they want to tell you we are, we have a problem with how much food gets wasted. We have a problem with things like that. We have a problem with how we don't take care of the people that are already here, right? But economies, and I'm sorry, they do have to succeed. Economies kind of thrive on a certain rhythm. And one of the rhythms is that as people get older, there's a generation to take care of them. And when you don't have a certain number of kids who are born into that, then you end up with a generation that's getting older without people to take care of them. You also end up with not enough people to buy the products that you make in your own country. As much as China's kicking ass, they're not selling anything inside their own country. And that's usually an issue. Most of the time, that will catch up with you. Tracy says, in Canada, Tylenol #1 with codeine is sold over the counter. Just ask the pharmacist. Tylenol 2 and Tylenol 3 require prescriptions. Thank you, Tracy. Probably not going to be an issue for me because they're not going to allow me into Canada. But it is good to know because I'm always curious about things like that. Hold on one second. Oh, I love the sweater reference. I really do. I love the sweater reference. I'm a little freaked out by the guy. I really am. I'm freaked out by the guy. I think I don't like him, right? And if you do a little studying, you won't like his dad. They were an odd family, man. And honestly, I'm creeped out big time by him, right? Same in the UK, you don't look after your own. Well, that's sad, isn't it? Because that's really where we're at. I promise you, we could. That's right, Kirsten Melinda. No Scoville in Canada. You know who could go there? My brother probably could. Catalina, there's a good chance that Timo is going to have to charge a little less. Here in Scotland, you have to go through 1,000 questions to get cold remedy. Yeah. It's kind of that way here because the ingredients, you can very easily take the ingredients and make them into other stuff. And I know that sounds, well, it can't be that easy. It's that easy. You know, it used to be a lot more difficult, but they came out with these recipes that they call a cold cook. And there's not a whole lot of ingredients in there, right? But one of them is absolutely Sudafed and a crap load of it, right? They have to have that. Bill Gates should go in a corner and stick with AI-powered toilets. Crucial flow. I'll tell you what. You know my new favorite insult? I just hope that I hope he steps on a Lego. I think that's probably the worst thing that I can hope for somebody. Hope you step on a Lego is just a mean thing to say. Elaine says, I am 54 days sober off Oxy. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! You know what? That is epic. That is a very difficult drug to get off of. And I hope you weren't buying those on the street. But if you were, you know how lucky you are to be here, right? You know how lucky you are to be here. Because the Oxys on the street aren't Oxys. You know? They haven't been for a long time. So, If you are here and you are buying them on the street, then you're a walking miracle, right? And I don't care what you believe in, but whatever it is, you're here for a reason, because that stuff was poison. Congratulations. That's awesome. For real. It's why we're here. For real. The rest of it is just, window dressing. That's freaking awesome. Chrissy from Maui. Yeah, felony laws. There are countries that will not allow me in because of the fact that I'm a felon. It's a thing. And I'm not mad at them. Mary says, woohoo! I use Suboxone to get off H. It's a miracle worker. I agree with you. And it is because once you can get somebody out of the lifestyle, right? You're no longer having to run around and do the things that you're doing in order to get the stuff. You're not out stealing. You're not out hustling. You're not hanging with people who are out hustling. If you're doing dope, you got to hustle it, right? You got to get money every day to do it. And you end up hanging out with people who do dope. Once you can get someone out of that environment, right? All of a sudden they got 16 hours a day to sit around and think, right? Instead of spending 16 hours a day looking for the next lick, looking for the next store you're going to shoplift at, looking for the next, right? All bad. But Suboxone or any of the other ones that are treating that, proud he is. That's great stuff, man. Great stuff. Valium is a big problem in Scotland. The synthetic killing so many people. I am sorry to hear that. Avena Sativa says on the slick, I'm probably going to keep you up for the next 3 days with the new rabbit hole. SRA survivor Madison Clare, her serial killer dad Byron Cups, and his business Cyber Slice in '96. Bill Gates involved. Am I allowed into Mexico? I am allowed into Mexico. My passport gets me in and out of Mexico. I go through customs. There's no problem at all. It's hey, South Aussie, good to have you here. But you get to Canada and you hand them that it ain't happening. It ain't happening. They're really good at it. You put that passport through. They're like, nope, you need to turn around. You're not coming here. I went there with my in-laws. We were up in the Pacific Northwest, and they just decided that we would take a quick trip, and I didn't even think about it, man. It didn't even occur to me. But it's such a great way to tell you your in-laws about your criminal past. When you get up there and they take all the passports and they're like, guy in the back, he's not coming in. Yeah, sorry about that. It's a great icebreaker. You know what I mean? It's a good icebreaker for that kind of question. I think, great question, by the way, do I think he is still in withdrawal? So withdrawal officially, right? Officially, the crap's going to be out of your system in 72 hours, right? A little longer for some people, a little more for some people. But let's say we give it the crazy and say within 90 hours, right? Within 90 hours, it's all out of your system. 3.5 days, something like that. Okay. Then you're miserable for about 2 more days. So during that time, that's withdrawal proper. That's vomiting. That's defecating on yourself. That's like you cough and you're done because you just can't hold anything in. It's a really, really bad stuff, right? So after that initial maybe week, right? You're not in withdrawal anymore. However, you're not going to sleep, right? You're going to be miserable. You see them. That's the stage you see people at when they're sitting in chairs, and you always know when the person's in there because they're just like they're sober, but you can tell that they're just miserable. Like everything in their body is screaming, "Why are you not giving me smack?" or "Why are you not giving me fent?" Right? Everything in their body is yelling about it. Candy's Life says, I actually used to live with a girl that robbed a small town pharmacy for all of the Suboxone they had. Damn. She went to federal prison for 12 years. Wow. That's and you know what she found when she went to federal prison? Tons of Suboxone. I'm sorry, but yeah, Suboxone it's probably the most popular substance inside of prisons these days because of how simple it is, how much easier it is to get it in, right? It's as thin as a stamp, right? It's a lot harder for them to see that stuff getting smuggled in. Yeah, Catalina, crawling out of your skin. I mean, that's exactly it. Fent is completely different. Fent is completely different, right? That, yeah, methadone is also different. We're talking about half-lives that are freak shows. Now, Avena Sativa, were you doing street Fent? Because the analog of street Fent isn't supposed to stay in your system as long, but the stuff from pharmacies absolutely should. That's what they say anyway. I abused the crap out of that stuff, but I never bought anything that came from the street. Right? Fentanyl wasn't a street drug when I was using. And that is the $1 million question. So, you know what's really funny is I have had this conversation with maybe 25 recovering junkies. Don't take that the wrong way, Elena. I'm talking about me, right? And addicts who were addicted to opiates. I was a junkie. But I've had conversations with a lot of people who that was their drug of choice. And everybody has the same question, the same takeaway. Hey, Britt P., because you find yourself saying, that's what happened to me, right? And that's what happens to everybody, right? You get through that because for that first 7 or 8 days, man, you're so torn up, right? You can't think of anything but the sickness. You're not even worried about the fact that you just got arrested, right? None of that can make its way into your dome, right? It just can't. So what you end up with is, yeah, it's a terrible, the realization that crushes you, that comes down and you go, oh my God, what have I done? Right now I'm in here facing this. Yeah. When it all came to fruition and he realized exactly where he was. Ow, man. Ow. Kirsten says, H addicts here in Glasgow are not helped at all. They're given methadone, which they find harder to get off. Have met addicts recently who went to a GP about blow and also was given methadone. That doctor that gave somebody for cocaine, gave them methadone, that doctor should lose their license, in my humble opinion. That's absolutely horrific that somebody would do that. And methadone is a terribly tough drug to get off of. Not necessarily so much because of the drug, but because of how the drug gets given to you, right? Because it goes through these clinics. The clinics don't want you off it. They don't. Like if I got everybody in my clinic off of methadone, I'd be a success? No, I'd be out of business. I need people coming back. They're drug dealers. They're a lot nicer drug dealers, right? And they're sort of accepted, but they're absolutely. Renee, I am so sorry. Can we get thoughts and prayers for Renee, who lost her son a year ago today? I am so sorry. Renee, I am so sorry. Thoughts and prayers with you. Ones, please. My introduction to H, withdrawal, etc., was Train Spotting. You know something? If you were to say to me, is there a movie out there that does a decent job of showing somebody in withdrawal that's fairly realistic, I probably would have said, check out Train Spotting, right? Or Sid and Nancy. Those were two movies that, as far as that goes, they did a pretty decent job of really capturing everything there is about what that stuff does to you, especially in withdrawal. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You must understand something. He's going to think he did something wrong, but it's not going to have anything to do with assault. It's not going to have anything to do with the R word. He will be going over the things like, why did I come to New York? Right? Why did I trust my lawyer and come to New York to turn myself in? Right? What I should have done was got on that plane. I should have run like hell. That's going to be running through his mind on a loop, a nonstop friggin' loop. But the one that's going to be worse is, I could have given her $30 million. Right? Doesn't mean he wouldn't have got caught. Jaguar wasn't going to go away. Right? The people that were talking about this dude weren't going to go away. He would have eventually got caught. However, there might not have been 120 lawsuits coming down. Even if he were to survive the not going to prison and somehow beating the feds, not going to happen. If by some chance it did happen, he'd get out and be absolutely broke, right? It's going to be really hard to start trying to sell records as a you-know-what, right? The person that has that reputation, and I'm telling you, even if he beats the case, we're going to think he beats the case because he's got a ton of money. Nobody thinks the guy's innocent. Nobody thinks the guy's innocent. His lawyer says he does, but he doesn't either. Incarnasoul, good to see it. Too much smoke, right? Way too much smoke. Where there's smoke, there's not always fire. But where there's this much smoke, there's a crap load of fire, right? It's just the way it is. Makes sense. Oh, Monica, I'm sorry. I really am. I am so sorry. Drugs suck, don't they? I mean, for real. And here's the thing. I'm not an anti-drug channel. I'm not. I don't care if you do drugs. I really don't. I'm an anti-addiction channel. The vast majority of people who do dope can do dope. It's the truth. Nobody here can. We're not very good at it here, right? We have a disease, right? Makes it so that you can't do this. Right? That's it. That's it. It's that cut and dry. There's a disease that makes it so we can't do it. But the vast majority of people that do drugs don't have that disease. That don't have that disease. It's just that simple. Withdrawal is horrid. Pure prescription oxy withdrawal nearly ended me. Oh, Elaine. Now here's one of the things that I have said for a long time. One of the things, because people will say, "Oh, come on, heroin's, that was way worse for you than oxy. Had to be worse kicking." And the thing is this: you would get tar that was fire, or even if you were on the East Coast, you'd get the white stuff, but you would get stuff that was just extremely strong. And then the next batch wouldn't be. And the batch after that would be somewhere in between. And then the next, Elaine got the same batch every single time. The strength of every single pill was identical to the strength of the previous pill. That kind of predictability in your substance will make your addiction grow at a rate that you can't imagine. A lot of times addicts who are using and buying things in powder and putting them in spoons and doing stuff like that, you're constantly getting a different supply from different people, from different places. Even if I always buy from the same dude. Yeah. And the person that he bought from might have bought from the same dude every time. But that dude had to get it from a grower. And it's different. You could buy from the same person, from the same farm, and one half of the year will be different than the other half of the year. It was an amazing thing, but it kept you from having that kind of foot to the floor thing that Elaine had to go through. And I would imagine that it was hell. I would imagine that was hell. However, you know what? We'll do that one more time. However, since it was prescription oxy, right? Well done. Well done, well done, well done. Catalina says, I've been here to try and understand my first love's addiction to meth. I've talked to Tommy and he said this one particular drug is a beast due to the long-term damage it can cause. Yeah, depending on how long you've been doing it, right? Here's one of the things about that drug. Drugs make you, you go into the brain, right? The mu receptor, a key goes in, it turns it on. It's like a faucet. It starts to drip out, and that's what gets you high from an opiate, right? When the meth goes in, you're releasing every feel-good chemical you got in your brain at once, especially if you're doing it in a shot, right? There's so much of that chemical going in that people who do that again and again and again and again and again, you get to a point where people say, your receptors go, I'm not sending anything out anymore. I'll just wait for the shot to come. And what that means is that when it's all said and done, and you've been foot to the pedal like that for 15 years, now you go into a hospital and your wife gives birth to your first kid and they hand you that kid, and that feeling, that intense feeling that bonds you to that child, where every single chemical you got in your brain gets released at once. That feeling you're never going to feel again. That moment where you're like, oh my God, it's so intense and you just don't get it. Nothing. Anhedonia, the inability to feel, because the chemicals that make you feel, you shot those all up. Question: with methadone, is it designed to be weaned off? i.e. dosage getting smaller over time. Yes, the concept was this. It wasn't made to get you off of dope. It was made to be a very long-term pain medication for people in the battlefield where you needed your pain medication to last more than 6 hours or 8 hours. You might have needed it to last more than a couple of days, right? So by having something with a really long half-life and taking it every day, it starts building up to your system where you got this massive amount of it in your system. Where if all of a sudden I go from 100 to 90, I've got so much built up in my system that it's going to be a week or two before that even starts to get in. So you can slowly wean yourself off. If the people who ran the clinics were encouraging you to do that. And every once in a while, someone will say to me, oh, I was at a clinic and they took me down all the time. I was only in there for, well, you're it. I promise. You're not you're the exception to the rule. The rule is people stay on it forever. And I know a lot of people that have been doing methadone for 30 years. And you know what? Is it a better trade-off than doing the opiate? You betcha. Damn right. Damn right. The guy goes and gets his dope once a month. Damn right. Michelle says Hitler invented meth. He certainly did. Well, his people certainly did. He also brought us methadone. That was also came from the German war machine. I'm sorry, Elaine, what? Elaine says, I have slept every night, all night for 30 days straight. The first time in 10 years. Oh, I remember that. I absolutely remember. I remember the first time I woke up in the morning and I looked at the clock and it said like 5:30 or something in the morning. And I was like, holy hell. Right? Holy hell. Like I laid down at 10 and it's 5 a.m., man. Like I slept. And you get up and you start calling people and telling them, dude, I slept. I slept from like 10. Yeah, most people don't get it. You can come here and people will understand that. You go other places and talk about how happy you are that you're asleep. People don't get it. The question becomes why? Why do we beat the crap out of ourselves so hard? Because I work with you people, right? And I have now for a long time. And you're all harder on yourselves than you are on other people. I don't think it's that way in the real world. I mean it. I don't think it's that way outside of the recovering addict community. I think it usually goes the other way around. I think that people that get out of the other side, I think that people pop out of the other side. They always want to look back and make sure that there wasn't anybody they left in there. And they don't even need to know the person. If they know somebody's still in there, it's hard to just walk away. That's why I'm here. Elon was talking about how the Russian soldiers were given meth to fight on a Joe Rogan podcast. Well, that's an absolute fact. And I'll tell you something else. At the same time, World War II was like for everybody, World War II was a time where giving drugs to soldiers this was something that, and it wasn't the first war. They've been doing that since before guns. People would use different substances to get fired up to go into battle. But they were doing it. Everybody was doing it. We had our own stuff that we were giving to soldiers that they could take. It was the predecessor to the cross tops. They were amphetamines. They were what was the other one? Benzedrine. We did a lot of this stuff, right? And so did the Japanese, and so did the Germans. Apparently, it was a very big deal for kamikaze pilots. They would do unbelievable amounts of the equivalent of crystal methamphetamine before they go. And I'll tell you what, if you've ever done a big shot of that one would make a lot of sense. Like if I had to go take a plane onto the deck of a ship, that might be what I would bang first. Yeah, I'll get that one going. Little Miss Sunshine says Lou Reid, Lou Taylor, Babyface, Snoop, Candy, Buress, Kris Jenner, Kanye's handler, Rachel Chandler, Ashton Kutcher, Demi Moore, just a few to look into. Lots more. L.A. Reid, yeah. There are a lot of people on this Little Miss Sunshine that we're already taking a good look at. So I promise you, I can tell you right now so that you guys keep coming back, right? Because we need that. I'm going to be talking about old Ashton Kutcher is a subject that's going to be coming up shortly. In that we will talk about both of his wives because there's some fascinating shit that went on with both of them, right? His first marriage to Demi, pretty interesting stuff, right? Really, really interesting stuff. His second marriage, also worth talking about. also worth talking about. And I feel like there's a decent chance that that he doesn't come out of this one smelling like a rose. Jane Aldrich says, sorry, must run for an appointment. Good seeing you all and a great program. Admiral Tommy Mods. The Boat family, you all have a good afternoon. Hope to see you later. Thank you, Jane Aldrich. You be safe. Chrissy from Maui remembers crosstops. Wow, Bare Necessities. Been doing housework listening to your channel 9 months ago with Reese. Fast forward to today. Technology. Love it. Well, that's awesome, Bare Necessities, and I'm glad that you're here. Have a great appointment. Yeah, absolutely. 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 I'm shopping for a new therapist, people. I had something happened and I had to change therapists after a really, really long time. And I had a very, very good relationship with my therapist. And now I'm looking for a new one. And it's a painful process. I continue to go, nah, one right after another. I'm going to find one that's a good fit. Because I absolutely need one with a good fit, right? I do a lot of my own stuff, right? I do a lot of journaling and I take care of myself. I eat, I sleep, right? I do the things that you have to do if you have any hope of getting your life together. If you're not eating, sleeping, right, and exercising, things are going to get hard. Those things are important. Now, I know some of us wrestle with sleep disorders. I have them, but we get it when we can. And if you are struggling with sleep, you better be eating and you better be exercising, because that was what cured it for me in the joint, right? I had sleep problems for so long, but in prison, I'm locked in a cell, right? I'm locked in a cell that's really, really small and I got nothing to do. So I read books and I did a crap load of push-ups and a crap load of crunches. And it not only does it make you really tired, but it gives you a ripping six-pack. That's not a bad thing either. Yeah, drink water, cleanse your body. Drink as much water as you can possibly hold. I'm kidding. But it was a standard joke in my family for years. Anka, as a person who never took drugs or drank alcohol, I'm still so fascinated by the subject. I've always thought my mind is my most precious gift. Never wanted to mess with my cognition. Well, you were a genius. I mean it. I'm now at a place in my life where my cognition is an issue. And you will always wonder if it would have been an issue had I not done the things that I did to myself for the amount of time that I did it. And that's a bummer. That's a bummer. Melatonin supplements. Yes, I know people that have had success with that. You got a new therapist, Paula D? I love it. I love it. Tractor, thoughts and prayers for you. I hope that your husband's doing better. Kiki says, Tommy, I'd love to hear your opinion on the legislation of cannabis in the U.S. Seems like everyone is stoned all the time. I'll be honest with you. I think it's a great idea. And I don't think it's a great idea because I love the concept of a bunch of people being high, right? Because I don't. However, there are a lot of people on planet Earth that have traded the drugs that they were on for cannabis, right? People that were cocaine addicts who now smoke a quarter ounce of weed a week, right? Or half an ounce of weed a week or whatever. Is that trading one substance for another? It is. But it's a really good trade, right? You're not going to overdose on weed. You're probably not going to do stupid stuff like rob banks and, some of the stuff that you'll do on hard drugs. So I think that the number of people who are doing time because they were in possession of a plant that can get you stoned, and they got sentenced by a guy who after work went to a bar and had 6 drinks. There's something wrong with that. There is. Why is your intoxicant better than my intoxicant? Why is your intoxicant legal and mine is not? Yours is way worse on the body than mine, right? Now, I say mine playing the devil's advocate. Although my sleep disorder, I treat with gummies that are THC and CBN, right? And it's in some ratio to, and it's purely sativa. It's not anything else because it's made for sleep. You wouldn't want to take it and walk around, right? But it will definitely help you get to sleep. And I am in a state where that is legal, so you know. And I know that there are people. I get a ton of crap from people, but this isn't the sobriety channel. I mean, people call it that. It's not. It's a living your best channel, life channel. And for a lot of people, that means harm reduction. And I'm not going to say to somebody, you're not sober if your drug was crack and now you smoke a joint 4 times a week. I'm not that dude. And no one's ever going to be that dude on this channel. I promise. Just ain't going to happen. Took clonazepam for over 20 years for PTSD. Ruined my memory. Those years I was on it are a blur now. Motherbird 63. I assume the way you're talking about that, you successfully got off of clonazepam. Wow, that's something. That is something. Yeah, I'm blown away. I really am. That's a difficult drug to get off, and a lot of times the damage that gets done by it seems to hang around. Like you wouldn't be as sharp as you seem to be now. I've seen a lot of people that took it that long that didn't do well. So I'm very happy that you're here. Oh my word. You have got to be kidding. You have got to be kidding. 5 boxes of Kraft mac and cheese, or as my friends from Canada call it, Kraft dinner, with a pint of crab meat. It was good indeed. Good Lord. Darkly Noon says, I'm a recovering alcoholic, drank for 20 plus years. I ended up in the hospital with my BAC at 0.54. Good God. That in all of the time that I've been doing this, I've never, ever heard of a blood alcohol content that high. Ever. In fact, I think 4.7 was the highest I had heard until just now. It took 5 days before I could walk or even get out of bed. I'm 6 years sober now. Woohoo! 6 years, my man. The official participation trophy of the lifeboat. Could not be more proud of you. And I throw man out. I could be either. I apologize. But Darkly Noon, congratulations. That is a really incredibly high blood alcohol content. I'm not being disrespectful, but were you trying to unalive yourself? Because to get to that kind of BAC, I mean, that's gotta be drinking like you're trying to drinking with a business-like attitude. You've been off of it for over 10 years. I'm sorry, I know this is coming out a lot, but clonazepam, you've been off of it for 10 years. God bless you. Damn, that's not easy. Really, really not easy. That is a rugged drug. A Tribe Called Duff. Have a great evening. Thank you all for spending time with us. You know, I really do appreciate it. I'm going to be back later today, and I hope to see all of you then. And sometime this week, I'm going to be on the Sean Atwood program. We're going to be talking about Oprah. All right. Between now and the next time I see you, which I hope is this evening, reach out and try to save somebody. All right. You guys are the best. Let me see if this works over here. You guys are the best. Bye-bye.